the government, the federal government, was looking for a way to break the Native families down, break the Native communities down.
Okay, so Ashley, where were you born?
I was born in Calgary, Alberta.
So we just parked and now we're on our way to go meet Charles.
This documentary is about the survivors. This documentary is about the culture. This documentary is about getting rid of stereotypes.
He's always adopting everybody.
Residential schools, and that's when I really started to notice it. And being my age and not knowing very much, I got really curious about wanting to know what happened in these schools. Yeah.
You know, this story is going to hurt you as young people. And I honestly want to share my strength with you in what you're doing. And I'm very, very happy for your generation. I'm trying to learn what we lived through as hell. And I'm very proud of you on what you're doing. And what you're going to learn about the elders, of what we survived through. Because we do have stories that can rip the hearts out of people.
Are you going to be going to the old school too, the grounds?
That's what I wanted to go to the actual school.
Because they have an old school and a new school. The old school was torn down.
Yeah.
And they turned it into a park.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And all the foundations are still there.
Yeah.
It's quite easy to see where all the buildings used to be.
And it's the old graveyard. And I think the brothers still standing, isn't it?
Yeah, I heard.
Yes.
A big graveyard.
So where are we going on?
We're going to Mission, to the St. Mary's Indian Residential School. Apparently now it is a heritage site, was it? Was that what you said? Yeah, it's a heritage site. And the old ruins from the old school are still there. And Charles also told us that they built another one. So yeah, that's where we're going now. We're going to meet Charles at Tim Hortons, and then we're heading there.
I was 8 years old and I left when I was 16.
My name is Dolores Jim. I went to the old school in St. Mary's for 7 years. I only remember 4.
Mike Kelly, I went to St. Mary's School and Mission for six and a half years.
My name is Andrew Louie, and I went to Mission Residential School for about 6 months, and then they shipped me off to Kamloops.
One of the Prime Ministers of Canada made a statement, I don't know whether it was to his cabinet or to the people in Canada, that he said in 50 years there will be no more Indians. And that was something he saw that the residential schools were going to accomplish when they were run mostly by supposedly people of God, missionaries and priests and nuns. You know, most of them were probably a lot of them were pedophiles and child abusers, and a lot of cases they were both. 2 boys from the Musqueam Reserve, they came in, they were quite young, and they were speaking their language. And the nun that was taking care of us walked up behind them and started beating them with her fist, started punching him in the back of the head, holding one boy like that and then punching him. They never punched you in the face or the body. And my lawyer said because they didn't want to leave any marks, so they always punched us in the head, around the ears and on top of the head. And as a result of that, I'm stone deaf in this ear, and my ear, this ear is always ringing.
Like it was my first time to get a strap, and I honestly don't remember what I did or what I was supposed to have done. And like my older friends told me what to do. And you should tie your arms and you won't feel the pain.
They were tearing a church down. I won't disclose where it was at, but they were tearing a church down, and inside, behind one of the walls, they found hundreds and hundreds of baby bones. That was, yeah. So I believe that I heard too that some of the nuns got pregnant, and that's where their babies wound up.
Because of all the things that were told to me, being a savage, being no good, being lower than a human being, had no love for myself or anyone else because I didn't know how to love. That's why I turned to the alcohol, and I could lose myself in that.
You were asking how that affected my family life. I'd take off my belt and I'd line those children up against the wall like that, and I'd start from the oldest one, and I'd start, put your hands out, and I'd start strapping them. And that only lasted for a short time, because then I realized, I realized what I was doing, that I had turned into the priest, I had turned into the brother that was punishing me.
I sat there and listened to it. They opened up our rec center, and I listened to it from the beginning to the end. I really don't believe in the guy who gave it. I never believed a word he said, and I mentioned it before that if I had a chance to thank anyone, I would thank the guy who wrote his speech, because I know he sure in the hell didn't write it. I know it didn't come from his heart.
The only thing I was looking at was that the government, somebody representing the government, was willing to come forward and say, I'm sorry. And that's all I needed to hear. And because I was working and dealing with healing and recovery from the residential school, I felt it was a step forward for us. We needed to hear it so that we could do more work with ourselves, with our families, and with our communities. It's something that we needed in order to move on in our life. And that's the way I looked at it. Thank you. One of the things that's very noticeable with the younger people is that they didn't experience the things that we went through. So they walk a different way in life, and they were more open and willing to get involved in culture. I know that many of the ones that went to the residential school got scared of it. So it's like certain people were passed over, and the children were the ones that were touched and brought forward to and helped to bring the culture more alive again. And it was great to see this happening.